destroying life far ahead of the point of attack, and drawn along by the relentlessly creeping composite tractor beam, there progressed around the circumference of the Hexan city two veritable Saturnalia of destruction, uninterrupted, cataclysmic detonations of sound, and sizzling, shrieking, multicolored displays of pyrotechnic incandescence, combining to form a spectacle of violence incredible. But the heptagons could not absorb nor radiate indefinitely those torrents of energy, and soon one greenishly incandescent screen went down. Giant shells pierced the green metal walls, giant beams of force fused and consumed them. Faster and faster the huge heptagon became a shapeless, flowing mass, its metal dripping away in flaming gouts of brilliance. Then it disappeared utterly in one terrific blast, as some probing enemy ray reached a vital part. The cone did not pause, nor waver. Many of its component units would go down, but it would go on, and on, until every Hexan trace had disappeared, or until the last Vorkulian heptagon had been annihilated. In one of the lowermost heptagons, one bearing the full brunt of the Hexan armament, Chromodior reared upright as his projector controls went dead beneath his hands. Finding his communicator screens likewise lifeless, he slipped to the floor and wriggled to the room of the chief power officer, where he found Wixil idly fingering his controls. "Are we out?" asked Chromodior tersely. "All done," the chief power officer calmly replied. "We have power left, but we cannot use it, as they have crushed our screens and are fusing our outer walls. 2 out of 7 chances, and we drew one of them. We are still working on the infraband over across the seconds board, but we won't last long." As he spoke, the mighty fabric lurched under them, and only their quick and powerful tails, darting in lightning loops about the bars, saved them from being battered to death against the walls as the heptagon was hurled end over end by a stupendous force. With a splintering crash, it came to rest upon the ground. "I wonder how that happened. They should have rayed us out, or exploded us," Chromodior pondered. The Vorkuls, with their inhumanly powerful, sinuous bodies, were scarcely affected by the shock of that frightful fall. "They must have had a whole battery of pressors on us when our greens went out. They threw us halfway across the city, almost into the gate we made first," Wixil replied, studying the situation of the vessel in one small screen still in action. "We aren't hurt very badly, only a few holes that they are starting to weld already. When the absorber and dissipator crews get them cooled down enough so that we can use power again, we'll go back." But they were not to resume their place in the attack. Through the holes in the still glowing walls, Hexan soldiery were leaping in steady streams, fighting with the utmost savagery of their bloodthirsty natures, urged on by the desperation born of the knowledge of imminent defeat and total destruction. Hand weapons roared, flashed, and sparkled. Heavy bars crashed and thudded against crunching bones. Mighty bodies and tails whipped crushingly about 6-limbed forms, which wrenched and tore with monstrously powerful hands and claws. Fiercely and valiantly the Vorkuls fought, but they were outnumbered by hundreds, and only one outcome was possible. Chromodior was one of the last to go down. Weapons long since exhausted, he unwrapped his deadly coils from about a dead Hexan and darted toward a storeroom, only to be cut off by a horde of enemies. Throwing himself down a vertical shaft, he flew toward a tiny projector locker, in the lowermost part of one of the great star's points, the Hexans in hot pursuit. He wrenched the door open, and even while searing planes of force were riddling his body, he trained the frightful weapon he had sought. He pressed the contact, and bursts of intolerable flame swept the entire passage clear of life. Weakly, he struggled to go out into the aisle, but his muscles refused to do the bidding of his will, and he lay there, twitching feebly. In the power room of the heptagon, a Hexan officer turned fiercely to another, who was offering advice. "Vorkuls? Bah!" he snarled viciously. "Our race is finished. Die we must, but we shall take with us the one enemy who above all others needs destruction." And he hurled the captured Vorkulian fortress into the air. As the heptagon lurched upward, the massive door of a lower projector locker clanged shut, and Chromodior collapsed in a corner, his consciousness blotted out. "Well, that certainly tears it. That's, Stephen's ready vocabulary failed him, and he turned to Brandon, who was still staring narrow-eyed into the plate, watching the destruction of the Hexan city. "They've got something, all right. You've got to hand it to them," Brandon replied. "And we thought we knew something about forces and physical phenomena in general. Those birds have forgotten more than we ever will know. Just one of those things could take the whole IP fleet, armed as we are now, any morning after breakfast, just for setting up exercises. We've got to do something about it, but what?" "It's okay, whatever you say. There may be an out somewhere, but I don't see it." And Stephen's gloomy tone matched his words. Highly trained scientists both, they had been watching that which transcended all the science of the inner planets and knew themselves outclassed immeasurably. "Only one thing to do, as I see it," Brandon cogitated. "That's to keep on going straight out, the way we're headed now. We better call a council of war to dope out a line of action." End of Chapter 11.